Today's episode of Chicago Bears Now is presented by ButcherBox. The holidays are almost here, and there's a lot going on. Family coming into town, or you're traveling. One thing you don't want to have to worry about is going to the grocery store and buying all that meat for everybody. ButcherBox will ship it straight to your doorstep. ButcherBox.com/NFL Daily, code NFL Daily. Get it shipped right to your doorstep. Plus, on your first order, you're going to get a free turkey in addition to whatever else you order. So you can get your other proteins, then boom, turkey comes with it. Thanksgiving meal, you're good to go. ButcherBox.com/NFL Daily. Get going with them today. Code NFL Daily as well. All right, on today's show, Bears trade candidates. The NFL trade deadline, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. November 1st is when it comes and goes. Will Ryan Poles trade away any players? We'll find out between now and then. I've got some players to break down on today's show that I think could be on the move for Chicago. And before we get to those players, name a player that the Bears should trade away. A single player. Maybe it's a big-time player like Roquan Smith. Maybe it's a small-time player. I just want to know, name a player that the Bears should trade away before the NFL trade deadline, and then we'll hop into my 8 players that I'm keeping an eye on. All right, 8 Bears trade candidates that could be on the move. And I didn't order this with any specifics, but I did want to lead off with kind of the obvious name that's been circulating since the offseason. That, of course, is Robert Quinn. He is the obvious name here. Now, what's not obvious is what his trade value is, because Robert Quinn did not, or has not, I should say, played to the level that he did last year. Look at what he did last year. 18.5 sacks, 17 tackles for loss, 4 forced fumbles. I mean, none of us expected him to do that again, but I sat up here on the show and said, yeah, I think he'll give you 8-9 sacks this year, 10 sacks, still a decent amount of pressures. His pressure rate over the last 4 years has been one of the top 5 in the NFL. He's not getting a lot of pressures. He's not getting home much. 1 sack, 2 QB hits, 1 tackle for loss. So I don't know what his value is. I don't know. Obviously, the Bears shifted from a 3-4 to a 4-3, but he's played in both systems throughout his career. I'm surprised he has not been as productive this year. Now, defensive tackle's not as strong next to him to what he had last year, but still, I don't know what his value is. Let's say his value was a second-round pick before the season. Is it a 5th now? I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't trade him because of that, but just keep in mind, when you guys send me these ideas like trade Quinn for a 2nd and a 3rd, like you're not getting that at this point in time. I mean, ideally, Robert Quinn these next 2 games before the trade deadline balls out. Looks like he did last year, and then that trade price goes up, and you make a decision on whether or not you want to trade or keep him. All right, let's talk about Roquan Smith. It's a tricky one, right? He's playing out the 5th year of his rookie contract. He requested a trade during training camp. Then he pulled that request, said, I'm going to play this year out, bet on myself, try and get a new contract with this team. But I think at this point, the way things are going with this team and what the future needs to look like, trading Roquan has to be a possibility. It just does, because if you're still not sold on paying him, then you either trade him now or you tag and trade him in the offseason. Now, if you trade him, you're restarting at linebacker completely. You may not have a single player on this roster that is in your future plans at linebacker. Nick Morrow, he's on a 1-year deal. Matt Adams, same deal. Joe Thomas, same deal. Jack Sanborn, undrafted free agent. Sterling Weatherford, he was cut by a different team and signed on roster cutdown day. Like, you are starting over at linebacker. So, if you trade Roquan, just understand, linebacker becomes a pretty notable need for this team next offseason on top of receiver, offensive line, pass rusher. I mean, you're already going to have a bunch of areas you got to address. Linebacker could be another one depending on what you do with Roquan Smith. Now, what's a more likely trade? Trading Roquan Smith or trading Robert Quinn? Type RQ for Robert Quinn, type RS for Roquan Smith. I think Quinn's more likely, but neither would surprise me at this point. I think Ryan Poles is a GM that's going to be active here if I had to predict. So guess what you guys think of the comments, RQ for Quinn or RS for Smith. Something that's not up for debate is the quality meats from ButcherBox. Listen, with the holidays almost here, take advantage of ButcherBox meats, because all they do is produce high quality meat, whether it's their free-range organic chicken, their 100% grass-fed beef, They're pork-raised, crate-free, or they're wild-caught seafood. Their seafood is absolutely fantastic. And when Thanksgiving almost here, they also have their free-range turkey that doesn't have any of that added antibiotics or added hormones. They don't juice their meats up like sometimes you see at these lower-quality grocery stores. This is legitimate stuff. And here's the deal. We have a deal for you guys on your first order. If you go to butcherbox.com/NFL Daily and use code NFL Daily, you're going to get a free 10 to 14 pound turkey with that first order. So if you're thinking about getting a bunch of protein and want to get your turkey for Thanksgiving, or just want to get it now before Thanksgiving even gets here, get going with ButcherBox. Get some burger meat, get some pork, and then you get the turkey for free, and you are set to go for several weeks here. ButcherBox.com/NFL Daily. They will ship this straight to your doorstep with the code NFL Daily if you are in the continental United States. Great deal. I cooked some of their burger meat over the weekend during a college football Saturday. Very high quality product here. Go check them out. ButcherBox.com/NFL Daily, code NFL Daily. All right, next up on our trade candidates list, how about Riley Reiff? Riley Reiff, when he signed right at the beginning of training camp, we're sitting here saying, oh, yeah, here's your left or right tackle. Depending on Larry Borom, Tevin Jenkins, and Braxton Jones at the time, pick one of those guys to be one of your tackles. Riley Reiff will be your another one. Nope, he has not played at all for this team. He's your swing tackle. He has not been playing, which I'm not saying that's good or bad, but my point is there's some bad offensive line play right now. There's a lot of injuries around the league. I mean, you think about Tampa, the Chargers, a lot of teams down starting linemen right now. Riley Reiff is a vet who has played a lot in this league. Now, he's probably not what he was a few years ago, but he could be serviceable for a team, I would think. I mean, the Chargers had some dudes out there the other night on Monday Night Football where I'm like, they can't block anybody. They were starting that 6th-round rookie from Georgia who stinks. Riley Reiff, you would think, for a late-round pick, could be a serviceable right or left tackle for somebody out there. So I could see the Bears going that route, especially if they're not going to plug him in for Larry Borom, which probably, honestly, just keep playing Borom at this point unless he falls off a cliff. Continue to evaluate him as a young player. I could see Riley Reiff getting dealt. Hit the subscribe button here on Chicago Bears Now. If the Bears make a trade, we're going to break it down here on this channel, youtube.com/Bears Now. Hit that subscribe button. Daily news, rumors, and other videos coming at you here on the channel. So go ahead and subscribe today. Another tricky one. How about David Montgomery? Could David Montgomery get traded? I don't think we can rule out the possibility. I mean, he's on the final year of his rookie deal as well. It would be tough. This is a guy who is a leader. This is a player who runs hard. He's one of your best players on offense. But at the same time, running backs have a shorter shelf life. This is a new regime that didn't draft him. And Khalil Herbert, as a pure runner, has clearly been better this year. We can't ignore the numbers here. Now, we'll see how this plays out throughout the season if Monty doesn't get traded. And I'm not in camp get rid of Monty, but if a team that needs a back is willing to throw you a middle-round pick, don't you have to consider it? Khalil Herbert's leading the NFL with 6.4 yards per carry. David Montgomery, 4 yards per carry. It's a big difference. As a runner, Herbert looks better in this system. He just does. Now, I'm not saying he's a better overall back than Monty. I think if you polled 32 NFL GMs, most would say Montgomery, but Herbert's got 2 more years on his rookie deal. You have to pay or tag Monty this offseason. Now, Monty does have the edge in several areas. He is much better in pass protection. That is an area Khalil Herbert has to get better in. And he's a better pass catcher. Now, Herbert's gotten a little bit better there. He's certainly not bad in that area, but Monty is better in that area than Khalil Herbert. But the point being, it's not like the gap between these two players is massive. I mean, if anything, Monty's got a slight edge. Khalil Herbert as a runner looks better right now. So team throws you a 3rd or 4th round pick for David Montgomery. Don't you have to consider it, especially if you're not sure if you're going to pay him or not? I think it's got to be on the table if you are Chicago. What should the Bears do with David Montgomery? Type T for trade, type K for keep. I'm okay either way, but I think you got to be willing to pick up that phone if you're Ryan Poles. All right, 4 candidates down. We got 4 more here. How about al-Quadin Muhammad, who has been one of the more disappointing free agent signings by Ryan Poles. This is a Matt Eberflus guy. He slowly picked it up. I will give him credit after an awful start to the season through the first 4 games. I think the last 2 games he's actually played better overall for Chicago. And he has 1 sack on the year. on the year, and that came last week, I think. He's been okay in run stopping. He was brutal against the Giants, but the last couple of weeks he has picked it up in that area. But still, I mean, 2 years, $12 million. He has not lived up to that. Would a team throw a late round pick for him though? Rotation pass rusher, decent run stopper in his career. Maybe. I think if you could even get a sixth, I would probably trade Muhammad. Here's another tough one. How about Eddie Jackson? Eddie Jackson is having a hell of a season. It would be hard to do this. It really would. What if a team threw you a second, though? Hell, what if a team threw you a first? Key contender loses a safety, and Eddie Jackson is on the table for a first-round pick. All you have to consider, you say you build through the draft. That's Ryan Poles' MO. He's having an unreal year. Tackling much better. He's being a ball hawk, 3 picks, 3 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles. The peanut punch has been a big part of his game. And what makes it tough, too, is all of a sudden you look at this, and if you're thinking about future pieces for this team, Eddie Jackson can be part of the future. He's only 28. So you're in a good spot here. Like, if a team overwhelms you with an offer, you're like, okay, we can't turn this down. You trade Eddie Jackson. But if not, you keep him, and he's a part of this nucleus moving forward. He's only 28, like I said. Maybe you restructure his deal next year, lower that cap hit, even get more money in free agency to play with if you are the Bears. So this one would be the hardest one, I think, based on the list of guys I have here. And I didn't think I'd say that coming into the year. Eddie Jackson the last 2 years has really struggled, but he seems re-energized in this scheme, and I've been really pleased with how he's played. Now, who would be harder to trade? Type EJ for Eddie Jackson, type DM for David Montgomery. Coming into the year, I'd say Montgomery, but right now, I think Eddie Jackson will be harder to trade. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Couple more. We won't spend as much time on these. Angelo Blackson, he's a decent nose tackle type. I think is a rotation player. Late round pick. I think you could get something for Blackson. He's done some decent stuff this year. He's not a player you should be emotionally connected to if you are the Bears. So I think he's a guy that you can move on from. Same thing with Michael Schofield. Like, if a team throws you a 7th round pick, if you're not going to start him and put Patrick at center, for example, and a team is desperate enough for a pick, like say the Chargers. Schofield's played there before. They have some O-line issues. They want to bring him back for 6th, 7th round pick. I'd trade him. He was a free agent after cutdown day. So I think that's another guy that you could potentially get a late round pick for as well. Hit that sub button here on Bears Now. 8 trade candidates to monitor between now and the NFL trade deadline. I think Ryan Poles will be on the phone quite a bit. I think he could trade for some players too. I don't think this will necessarily be a pure selling team. If he can get a piece to help Justin Fields, that's something you got to consider. Hit that sub button. We'll have you covered if any moves are made.